If there is something we are seeing quite a lot of during this film noir challenge is heist movies, as I am starting to realize that I might enjoy them more than I thought I did. You will understand why I am mentioning this once we start talking about today's movie, Criss Cross, released in 1949, produced at Universal, and directed once again by Robert Siodmak.
For him, there was no way out. He couldn't drop her. She was in his mind, in his blood. And if loving her meant tangling with a killer, he was ready for that too.
I wanted to reach you. I wanted to talk to you.
Oh, so it was me all the time. Between you and I had it all wrong. So it's not the way it looks. Is it, baby?
No, it's not the way it looks.
This is a movie that is perhaps not as known as The Killers, which was released in 1946, and it has been deemed by many as one of the quintessential film noir movies. Criss Cross is perhaps the lesser known reunion of Robert Siodmak and Burt Lancaster in another fantastic film noir. The film has indeed many elements that reminds us of The Killers, but also much like Fallen Angel in comparison with Laura, this movie can quite stand on its own. As I was saying in the beginning, this is yet another fascinating tale of a frustrated robbery combined with a deadly love triangle starring Burt Lancaster, gorgeous and talented Yvonne De Carlo, and superbly chilling Dan Duryea. This movie is set yet again in Los Angeles, a city that is omnipresent in film noir, and much like Act of Violence, it has a gritty look and also shows us many of the city's emblematic spots, such as Union Station or Kill Street Tunnel. It was also shot much like High Sierra in an almost documentary-like fashion. And you can see the expert hands of Robert Siodmak once again in Criss Cross, with his expert sense of rhythm, his sharp eye in depicting these fatalistic characters, and create around them this expressionist tales of oppression. It is not by accident that Robert Siodmak ended up directing 12 film noir titles, and we have to remember once again that it was in fact Joan Harrison, whom we mentioned in the first video of this Noirvember challenge dedicated to Phantom Lady, who brought to film noir director Robert Siodmak. So quite a visionary lady, if I may say so. Criss Cross was the project of producer Mark Hellinger, a former journalist who had big hits in Warner Brothers with High Sierra, which we mentioned already, They Drive By Night, and then at Universal having a big hit again, as we mentioned, with The Killers, and also Jules Dassin's Brute Force or The Naked City. His contribution to the genre, much like Robert Siodmak, is great, and it would have been even greater had he not passed just before the production for Criss Cross began. He was then substituted by Michael Crakey, and he was in any case a very big personality who had a very particular style, and as I read, there seems to be a tribute in this movie by the way Dan Duryea is dressed with a black shirt and a white tie, in a similar fashion to how Mark Hellinger used to flamboyantly dress. As we have also established in previous videos, it would be the subsequent years after World War II when the genre would truly reach its peak and solidify some of the elements that would make him truly recognizable. That is precisely what we find in Criss Cross, released in 1949, with the presence yet again of almost all those key components or ingredients of film noir. We have yet again a fatalistic plot, archetypical characters such as a femme fatale, we have a love triangle with deadly repercussions mixed with crime, we have a heist, a corrupt city, flashbacks, voiceovers, and all those juicy ingredients that made film noir truly fascinating. We also have a good solid script based on a novel. In this case, the screenplay was by Daniel Fuchs, adapting a novel by Don Tracy, published actually the same year that The Postman Always Rings Twice by James Malhan Kane. And in both novels we find that sheer fatalism that we so frequently refer to in these videos, but perhaps with a much darker approach in Criss Cross. Lies, betrayal, double crossing, triple crossing, quadruple crossing, hence the Criss Cross title, is what we find in this movie. No redemption yet again for the characters that are so well defined in this movie, and perhaps to me Burt Lancaster in this movie is the best example of a man who, against his better judgment, follows a deadly path played by a femme fatale. He plays in this case the part of Steve Thompson, who marries Anna, played by Yvonne De Carlo, but they end up divorcing. She then moves on and marries gangster Slim Dundee, played by Dan Duryea, a character that especially towards the movie is super chilling. But in time, Steve and Anna rekindle their romance. The heist scenario in this movie is not so much the result of a calculated plan, but a result of the love triangle that is presented so brilliantly in this movie. So unlike the previous heists that we've seen, this is a somewhat improvised heist or robbery that Burt Lancaster proposes, in this case to Slim Dundee, when he finds him and Anna together. It is precisely that portion of the movie that to me feels magnetic, super absorbing, and with a rhythm that keeps you on the edge once again of your seat. The last half hour of the movie happens almost in the blink of an eye, and the way it is constructed and the way it is shot has some of the most surreal and engaging photography that I've seen in film noir. If you enjoyed talking about cinematography in any of our previous videos, you're in for a treat with Criss Cross. Yet again, visual stylistic Siodmak, paired in this case with Franz Planner, also an European emigre who would work in films such as Letter from an Unknown Woman, Roman Holiday, or The Cane Mutiny. The way that some scenes are lit, the use yet again of deep focus, creates such an atmosphere, such a surreal and oppressive atmosphere, that you really get the impression that these characters have truly no possible escape. Even though I adore other fatale couples such as Fred McMurray and Barbara Stanwyck, or especially Jane Greer and Robert Mitchum, or the previous Burt Lancaster and Ava Gardner in The Killers, I have to say that Yvonne De Carlo and Burt Lancaster also work very well in Criss Cross, and she gives a fantastic performance for which she should be praised more often, I should say. Aside from terrifying Dan Duryea, who is much like Robert Ryan, I'd say one of my favorite villains, and Arthur Kennedy, whom I mentioned in High Sierra. We have also in the cast Stephen McNally, who used to play also quite nasty villains, but in this case plays a good cop, or is he? Because sometimes the line is quite blurry in film noir, as you may also know. The curiosity of Criss Cross is that it was the debut of Tony Curtis, who appears briefly in a scene in which he dances with Yvonne De Carlo, and who would work again with Burt Lancaster in movies like Trapeze or the highly acclaimed Sweet Smell of Success. Rhythm again in this movie is very important, and also the way it is told. He has a fantastic start. Its first 15 minutes are truly engaging, then we have a flashback, we come back to the present, and it's yet again the last, in my opinion, half of the movie that truly grabs your attention. And also I'd say another very important element that contributes to that rhythm is the music by Miklos Rotsa, who composed one brilliant score, I should say, for this movie, like he had also done with previously mentioned movies such as The Killers, Brute Force or The Naked City. So as you can see, there is quite a lot to love about Criss Cross. Perhaps, as I said in the beginning, a lesser known movie, but one that yet again I truly recommend you giving it a chance if you haven't already. Alright, so that was again all I have for today's video. I can't believe really that it's the third week of November and that we only have 1 week to go. I would definitely love to know your thoughts about Criss Cross if you have watched it. In any case, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining me through all this Noirvember challenge. Thank you so much for sharing the love for classic movies and for film noir. And as always, stay safe, take care, and see you all in my next video. Bye!